Did you know that 50% of US voters admit they've been influenced by fake news during elections? Or that political ads have become so powerful, they can change the way we think in just seconds? Political parties have learned how to manipulate voters in ways that most people don't even realize. They use fear, false promises, and even divide us into groups to get what they want. In this video, we'll dive into the secret strategies that shape every election. From crafting fake crises to controlling social media, these tactics are everywhere, and they're harder to spot than you think. We'll also explore the shocking truth about voter suppression and how it's still alive and well today. Stick with us, and you'll see politics in a whole new light. Chapter 1: The Power of Fear: How Parties Create Crisis to Control Minds. Political parties are experts in the art of fear-mongering. They know that when people are scared, they tend to rally behind strong, decisive leaders. This strategy isn't new. In fact, throughout history, fear has been a go-to tactic for manipulation. For example, the Red Scare in the 1950s used the fear of communism to influence elections and policies in the US. Today, the tactics have only become more sophisticated. Take the constant fear of terrorism or economic collapse used during election years. These crises often shift public opinion in favor of certain candidates. A 2017 study found that when voters were presented with threatening images or messages, they were more likely to support conservative policies. This tactic plays into people's survival instincts, often leading them to vote for what they believe is the safest option. Fear also allows parties to justify drastic measures that they might not otherwise get away with, like surveillance laws or military interventions. Fear creates urgency, making voters overlook policies that might not align with their long-term interests. Chapter 2: The Fake Promise: Empty pledges and broken trust. Promises are made during every campaign, but few actually get delivered. Politicians love to make grand promises like free healthcare for all, or the elimination of poverty. These promises sound great, but they're often unrealistic. Why? Because many political parties simply make them to get votes, knowing full well they're not achievable in the short term. For instance, in 2019, 84% of Americans said they were disappointed by campaign promises that were never kept. These empty pledges often create a sense of betrayal once the elections are over. However, they're an incredibly effective strategy to manipulate voters into thinking that change is just around the corner. Political parties can also use the tactic of partial fulfillment, where they enact some parts of their promises to create the illusion of progress, even though the core issue remains unresolved. This tactic is powerful because it plays on people's desire for immediate change, even if it's not the real change they need. The fact that this manipulation continues to work is a testament to the power of short-term thinking in politics. Chapter 3: Divide and Conquer: The Art of Polarizing Society. A divided society is a perfect breeding ground for political manipulation. Political parties often work to exaggerate social and political divides, pushing the narrative that one group's interests are directly opposed to another's. A common tactic here is us versus them rhetoric, which pits voters against each other based on race, religion, or class. In 2020, research showed that political polarization in the US reached its highest levels in decades, with 77% of Americans saying they see the other party as a threat to the nation's well-being. This division makes it easier for political parties to manipulate voters into thinking they must support a specific ideology or candidate to save the nation. By focusing on the other, they can rally their base while ensuring that no unified movement for real change can form. In countries where ethnic or religious tensions exist, such manipulation can lead to disastrous results, fueling hatred and violence. The strategy is designed to make it hard for voters to see the bigger picture, which is the true goal of polarization. Subscribe now to stay updated on the latest political manipulation tactics. Chapter 4: The Spin Doctors: Crafting a Narrative to Shape Reality. Political messaging has evolved into an art form. Political parties hire spin doctors to craft the perfect narrative, shaping how voters perceive issues and candidates. The idea is simple: control the story, control the outcome. In fact, studies show that people are more likely to believe information that aligns with their existing beliefs, so spinning a narrative to fit public opinion can sway elections. In the 2016 US presidential election, for example, both sides were accused of using misinformation and strategic messaging to shape the narrative. The use of social media platforms has only amplified this effect. A well-placed tweet or viral ad can sway thousands, if not millions, of voters. Research from the Pew Research Center found that 62% of Americans get their political news from social media, which makes it the perfect platform for these spin tactics. Political parties know this and work tirelessly to craft messages that resonate emotionally. The goal is not to inform, but to persuade. This creates a reality that is based on perception rather than truth, and that's the power of the spin. Chapter 5, Voter Suppression 2.0, Hidden Tactics to Steal Elections. Voter suppression isn't just about physical barriers to voting, it's now a high-tech game. In the past, voter suppression involved tactics like literacy tests or physical intimidation at polling stations. Today, it's far more subtle. For example, gerrymandering is a technique where district lines are manipulated to favor one party over another. A 2018 study found that gerrymandering helped Republicans win more than 50% of U.S. House seats while receiving less than 50% of the votes. Meanwhile, targeted voter suppression efforts focus on certain groups, especially minorities, making it harder for them to vote. In 2020, more than 3,000 polling locations were closed across the U.S., many in areas with large minority populations. The impact of such closures is significant. Research shows that voter turnout drops by 15% in areas with fewer polling places. In addition, misinformation campaigns on social media can discourage people from voting altogether, making them believe their vote won't matter. These tactics are often under the radar, but they're powerful methods of manipulating the voter base. Chapter 6, The Echo Chamber Effect, How Social Media Amplifies Political Manipulation. Social media has turned into a battlefield for political influence. Algorithms on platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are designed to keep you hooked by showing you content that matches your existing beliefs. This is known as the echo chamber effect. Once trapped inside an echo chamber, it becomes harder for voters to see outside perspectives. A 2019 study found that people who consumed news primarily through social media were more likely to develop extreme political views, as the content they were shown reinforced their existing biases. Political parties have learned how to use these algorithms to their advantage, targeting specific voters with tailored ads and content designed to persuade them. In fact, Facebook was accused of allowing political parties to use their platform to micro-target voters based on personal data without their consent. With social media platforms having such a large influence, they've become the perfect tool for political manipulation, shaping the way voters think, talk, and vote. It's a new kind of political warfare, where information, not facts, wins the battle. Don't forget to subscribe for more on how politics is shaping our lives in ways we don't always see.